What's going on, everybody? My name is Eric.
My name is Tom.
My name's Zach.
My name's James.
And we are Team Betrayed, and welcome to the Team Betrayed Podcast. So, it's been a little bit of time. We took an extra week off just because of timing and to sort of store up some stories here. But we are back, and we are ready to go. We have a full show for you guys today. We're going to talk about some NFL, talk about some NBA, and very briefly talk about some NHL. I had a much bigger segment planned for the NHL. However, again, due to timing, I wasn't able to include that. So when we record that section, I will include it into the next podcast. Starting off with some NFL news, I got a couple stories that I saw. Big story in the NFL has been injuries. One in particular was recently updated, and that's Andrew Luck. Originally, it was reported he would be out through Thanksgiving. He has since been shut down for the season. I haven't done too much look into it to see if it was like his injury was worse than he thought it would be or whatnot, or if the Colts did it because, they figured their season is over. But with Luck shut down for the season, do you guys think the Colts have any chance whatsoever in the division?
Jacoby Brissett's not playing bad, for sure. He's obviously no replacement for an Andrew Luck. That guy's the face of a franchise. And obviously a very good player when he's healthy, but the problem is he's not healthy. He's been sharing drinks, I guess, with Sam Bradford recently. But, I think what happened was there was a complication with his recovery, so now he's shut down for the rest of the season as opposed to getting over the original problem that he had. But the Colts, I think, will be all right. I think they're going to probably end 8-8, 7-9, 6-10, somewhere in that range. I don't think they make the playoffs this year, but Jacoby Brissett, he could be the long-term answer for the Colts. I mean, if Luck really can't play, if he keeps getting injured like this, at the very least, they have a very solid backup, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the Colts should just take as good of care as they can of Andrew Luck because they don't want a situation like David Carr had in Houston where they just let the man get beat all to hell for the entirety of his career. And David Carr could have been a great, great passer, but they'd never let him get to that point. That they need to take care of Andrew Luck, whether it's sitting him out for the rest of the year as a precaution, drafting linemen, so what have you. They need to make sure they take care of their $1 million man. He's the most valuable commodity in the NFL.
Yeah, it was smart for the Colts to sit Andrew Luck, but the Colts have no chance this season. They're in a tough AFC South. Jacoby has the talent, but he's just not ready. He's thrown in there with no line. Every play he's running or getting sacked. It's useless. Their defense steps up, but he can only throw to T.Y. Hilton so many times before they just double cover him.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think the Colts have much of a chance in the division. My reasoning for that is, quite frankly, the rest of their division. I mean, Houston, Deshaun Watson is playing exceptionally well. Jacksonville has come out of nowhere. Was not expecting them to play 3-3 football so far. And then the Titans. That whole entire division is playing a lot better than I thought it would. I didn't give the Colts much of a chance at the beginning of the season. I really don't give them much of a chance now. The second part that I wanted to know about that question is what happens to Andrew Luck going forward? I mean, with him being shut down this season, what do y'all think his career projection is now? Is he injury prone? Is he a bit overrated as a passer? What is his future in the NFL if he can't stay healthy?
If he can't stay healthy, he'll end up being a Sam Bradford. Not playing many games, and then keep getting traded, showing a lot of promise, and then getting injured again, which is what Sam Bradford pretty much has made a career doing, and it's really sad to watch because I do think Sam Bradford's a very good quarterback. Just can't stay healthy. I hope this doesn't happen to Andrew Luck. I really hope he gets healthy after this year. Maybe the reason they're shutting him down is a good thing because you could take the rest of the year to get healthy, come back next year 100% as opposed to trying to play 50%, 60%, and forcing himself to do something he cannot and keep getting injured, make himself. That's a good way to make yourself injury prone, and I don't think the Colts want that, and that's why they're being extremely cautious with him right now.
I think Andrew Luck's going to be fine. He's actually, if you look at the timelines, he's at the same point in his career that Aaron Rodgers was when he first started playing for the Packers. Aaron Rodgers sat for the first 4 seasons he was on the Packers after playing at Cal. So I think Andrew Luck's just fine. They are making a great decision for his career and for the overall success of the franchise by sitting him the season because, like James says, Jacoby Brissett is a capable backup. He's doing well at what they need him to do. They're not going to have a great season, but he, like I said, he's the most valuable commodity in the NFL, and you need to take care of that guy. He's worth every single penny you give him, and keep him up.
Yeah. Andrew Luck is a talent that we haven't seen in forever come out of the draft. He is the best. They need to protect him. He is their best asset of the organization. He could lead the team to Super Bowls in the future, and I think his career will head that way eventually. They are being smart right now and sitting him and keeping him out and protecting his arm to the fullest extent. And that's great for him, and I want him to succeed in the future.
Okay, so the second story that I had, which was something that I read on ESPN this afternoon, apparently they issued out quarterback superlatives, where they basically issued out the survey they sent to every NFL player, non-quarterback NFL player, players exclusively, so no coaches, analysts, just straight players. And they came up with 5 main categories. And some of these names on here I thought were quite interesting. Apparently the quarterback that was rated the biggest trash talker was Cam Newton, with Phillip Rivers second, Rodgers third. The quarterback that most defensive players wanted to sack the most, unsurprisingly, Tom Brady was number 1, with Big Ben and Rodgers following him. The quarterback you wouldn't want as a teammate, next to are pretty interesting. The quarterback you wouldn't want as a teammate, Jay Cutler was number 1, with Cam Newton and Phillip Rivers following him. I thought that was pretty interesting. And even more interesting, most overrated quarterback, Eli Manning, number 1. Andrew Luck, number 2. Joe Flacco, number 3. Jay Cutler, number 4. Bradford, 5. And then the rookie with the most success, unsurprisingly, Deshaun Watson, I think got like 85% of the vote. Trubisky second, Kaiser third, Mahomes fourth, and Chad Kelly got 1% of the vote. He's apparently a rookie for the Broncos, and I'm pretty sure a Bronco player is what voted for him. So, out of those 5 superlatives, what popped off that chart to you guys? What was really interesting? Because other NFL players are voting on these.
I didn't realize that there were superlatives, but one thing you mentioned kind of stood out as something that was kind of like something that I definitely expected, and that's the fact that everyone wants to sack Tom Brady. Yeah, I mean, Brady's been pegged like year after year after year as the guy, the best player in the entire NFL, and to sack a guy like that is just worthy of a celebration. So it's no surprise that everyone wants to hit Tom Brady. Player you wouldn't want to have as a teammate, Jay Cutler, makes a lot of sense just because of how he went out in Chicago. And yeah, the last couple of years Chicago he just seemed like a teammate that gave up on the rest of the team. So that makes a lot of sense. I'm sure a lot of people still remember how he went out with the Bears. And yeah, I mean, that's all I got. Everything else kind of makes sense, but those are the things I wanted to highlight.
The one thing that really stood out to me from that article was that it said for the next 10 years, it had Brady as number 1 and Aaron Rodgers number 3 as expecting to win the most Super Bowls. When those 2 guys are statistically and physically on the back ends of their careers, they're past their prime. Both of them will fall off in the next 3 or 4 years. That much is set in stone. So I just find that hard to believe that we're in such a here and now society that we depend on what we see today. It's what have you done for me lately, league, and everybody sees how well Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady do year in and year out. Well, quarterbacks fall off, and they fall off a cliff, and that cliff is fastly approaching. So we'll see.
It didn't really surprise me, but Cam Newton being the quarterback that trash talks the most is obvious. He is so cocky. I love to hate that guy. Because after every play, he's signaling first down. He's throwing the ball on the ground. After every touchdown, he's dancing like a star. I hate that guy when he scores. But yeah, I can see why he trash talks the most. Because he's actually good at the game.
I thought the biggest thing that stood out to me was Eli Manning being the number one overrated quarterback. I mean, I understand Eli Manning is overrated, but I wouldn't call him the most overrated. And Andrew Luck being number 2 on that list was something that kind of crossed my mind because, like we just mentioned about Andrew Luck was, he like you said, Zach, he's kind of at that point where his career is going to start taking off if he continues the trend that we all expected of him. Calling him overrated at this point is really surprising. No offense to you. Flacco being on that list makes sense. Cutler being on that list makes sense. And Bradford does. Eli Manning being on that list makes sense. But number 1, it just really kind of surprised me.
I don't. For Flacco, I don't think he's even rated. There's not a case for him to be overrated because he's never been highly thought of. He won a Super Bowl, and that little bit of a shine he had kind of wore off after about, what was it, the first quarter and a half of the Broncos game. So never forget that one.
Alrighty. So moving on to Tom, what kind of stories did you see that caught your eye?
Well, haven't done this in a while, but it's time for some more overreactions. I got 3 this time. So I'm going to say the overreaction, and just like always, you guys just go around in order and talk about what you think of it, overreaction, not an overreaction, and why. So the first one is that the Chiefs were exposed by the Steelers, and they aren't as good as we originally thought.
Not an overreaction. 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 The Chiefs had an off night, but the Steelers did what everyone has tried to do for the first 6 weeks of the season and failed. And that's corral Hunt, Kelsey, and Hill. Everyone's been trying to do it. No one's been able to do it. The Steelers are the first team to do it, which is surprising because the Steelers don't have that great of a defense. I think it was just an off night for Kansas City. They're still the Super Bowl favorites. They're still the best team in the NFL. It just showed that it's possible. It's just very, very, very difficult to do.
I think it's an overreaction because I wouldn't say the Steelers outmatch the Chiefs, but I would say that the Steelers have something the Chiefs couldn't game plan against, and that's the Steelers don't have a great defense, even a good defense to say that, but they have a fast defense. And the one way to beat a team that does short passes and predicates themselves on getting gimmick plays like the Chiefs do is have a fast defense. If you have a fast defense, you can physically make up for any mental mistakes you're doing because you can run after the players, you can run after the ball, you can catch up to any kind of mental error that way. But a team like the Chiefs just runs a West Coast offense that doesn't really get down the field as much as most other teams in the NFL.
I don't think it's an overreaction. The Steelers did what they had to do. They had to stop Travis Kelce from catching the ball. And once they stopped that, the Chiefs were one-dimensional. Yeah, Tyreek Hill is a star, but he's not going to game change like Kelce. Kelce's got to open up the field. Because you can put him in slot, you can put him out wide, you can run the ball down their throat with good blocking. So yeah, they shut down Kelce. They made the Chiefs one-dimensional with Kareem Hunt, and they exposed them. So good game plan, Steelers.
I'm going to go with an overreaction on this one. I think it's one of those just one game things. The Steelers just seem to have the Chiefs' number, and they got it again last week. So I think the Chiefs will be all right. All right, moving on to the next overreaction. With the news recently breaking, Teddy Bridgewater will not only play this season, but he will lead the Vikings on a deep playoff run.
I'd say mild overreaction. I don't think Teddy Bridgewater is going to play until later in the season. Just simply because I think their quarterback situation right now is working for them. Teddy is obviously the future of that team, but right now, I wouldn't change anything. I would ease him back in. You don't want to throw him to the Wolves and have another Sam Bradford situation where he's not fully healthy. But work him in practice, work him in with the first teams, kind of split first team duties, and see where he goes. And come week 14, 15, if the division falls like I think it's going to fall and Minnesota starts to pull away with it without Aaron Rodgers there, then you can kind of put him in the second half of a game and see how he plays, since it doesn't matter if you lose it. Ease him back in and see where he goes, but I think it's a mild overreaction to assume he's going to jump in and lead him on.
I think it's a pretty decently sized overreaction because I don't think Teddy Bridgewater is going to play another snap for the Vikings. He just seems to be the odd man out. He has this near career-ending, maybe even life-ending injury, and there was a lot of questions about him going into the draft about his physicality or lack thereof, because he was a 6'3", 215-pound quarterback that didn't have much bulk to him. Quarterbacks like that don't last in the league. And he had such a gruesome non-contact injury, something I've never seen before from a non-contact injury, and it just doesn't bode too well for him. I don't think he's going to play for the Vikings again. They're pretty good with Sam Bradford, and I don't even think Sam Bradford's 30 yet.
Yeah, it's a overreaction. I think he'll play maybe 1 or 2 games this year, but he's not going to impact it like he used to. They're going to test him out and make sure he's okay, and then they still might shut him down for a season because he's not able to go right into full contact like that. That'll definitely ruin his career before he even gets going again.
Yep, I'm going to go with overreaction. As much as I like Teddy Bridgewater and I want to see him come back and play this season, I think it's better, like James just said, to maybe give him some soft starts. Maybe if you lock the playoff spot in, maybe start him near the end of the year, but only for one half or a couple of plays, something like that, and see if he can pick up the pieces next season and see what happens this offseason. You know, if Bradford's just being too injury prone, maybe you get rid of him, and Teddy Bridgewater is your starter, Case Keenum the backup. Either way, Vikings heading in a positive direction. No one can doubt that. The next final overreaction, the AFC East is actually a really competitive division, and the Patriots are no longer a lock to outright win it.
You know, I want to say that it's not an overreaction, but sadly it is an overreaction. Patriots are still the best team in that division. I do believe they have a lot of fatal flaws, and I don't think they're as good as James and other people want them to be or think they are. But they are still the best team in that division. So I do believe they're going to pull away with it eventually, but I don't think they're going to go 6-0 in the division. I don't think they're sweeping the division this year, but they are still the best team. I still think they win it.
Yeah, I don't think that's an overreaction at all. I think it's a pretty wide open division, and I think the Dolphins, if they can get their things going with Jay Cutler not being apathetic like he usually is, they'll give the Patriots run for the money, and don't slouch on the Jets either. They can make a run for it as well.
Man, that's an overreaction. The only one that could give us a true test to the throne of the AFC East is the Buffalo Bills. You want to know why? Because they play great defense. They're at the line. They're frustrating receivers. They're in the 5-yard line. They're going to frustrate the hell out of you. Ask the Falcons. They play great defense. They scare me to death. But on the other side of the ball, they have no receivers. You can't name one of their starting receivers. They keep getting hurt. Yeah, they had Charles Clay. He's hurt. That's basically all I know of their receivers. So they're going to have to run the ball with McCoy and stop the screen, and the Bills are done.
Yeah, I'm actually going to say this is not an overreaction this time. I think this is a pretty competitive division right now. The Jets are shocking everybody. Rip the 0-16 dream. And no one really talks about the Bills, but they're quietly having a very good season. Almost shockingly good season. I think the Bills are in the same pool or near the same pool as people were putting the Jets in, that the Bills are kind of going to have a down year this time. They're very one-dimensional on offense. Their defense has a lot of holes in it, but their defense has proved that they can play and compete, and McCoy is playing his heart out right now, and the passing game is actually not doing that bad for the Bills, surprisingly enough, from what I've seen. So I think this is going to be a very competitive division.
All right, so moving on to James. James, did you have any stories you saw?
Originally, I didn't have a story, and then I was searching Twitter out of boredom today, and I saw a great stat line. Home teams this year have 45 wins at home. Away teams they don't have 45, they have 46. What is going on with the home field advantage? Can anybody explain that? You're supposed to win at home. Your fans are there. You have all the support in the world if you're not the Los Angeles Chargers. Can somebody explain that to me?
I feel like it's not so much that home field advantage doesn't exist anymore, because if you look at a lot of the L's that a lot of these teams have taken, they've been really close. I think it's just the fact of the matter is this NFL season has been crazy. There's a lot of aspects to it. A lot of bad teams have had a lot of the home games so far this season, and they've lost as expected. A lot of the teams that have been, but there's been a lot of upsets this season too. The Atlanta Falcons have lost 2 games at home. That's not as expected. The Redskins have lost 1 game at home. Chicago has played well at home, but they've lost, if I'm not mistaken, every home game. I don't think they've won a home game. I'm not sure. They might have won 1, but I know they've lost 2 at least. So a lot of these teams that haven't been playing very well have been playing very well at home.
To be honest, I think this can be chalked up to the fact that it's a very chaotic NFL right now. It's now more than ever in any given Sunday kind of NFL. I mean, we just saw the Broncos lose to the 0-5 Giants at home. We saw the Steelers knock off the undefeated Chiefs. The Steelers coming off of a week where Ben Roethlisberger was contemplating retirement in a post-game interview, and they turn around and beat the only undefeated team left in the NFL. It's just crazy. The Bills took down the Falcons. It's been an insane year in the NFL, and one of the most insane years I've seen, at least so far. But yeah, it's utter chaos in the NFL right now. So I don't think home field advantage means as much as it used to in today's NFL.
I think the home field away advantages kind of lends to the defenses, because the way the saying goes is that defense travels, and defenses are playing a lot better this year than they have in years past. Offenses aren't as explosive as they have been. And I also see a changing of the guard in the AFC. You have quarterbacks like Rivers, Roethlisberger, and Brady, who are really up there in years. And in a few years, you're not going to have those 3 guys there anymore. You already lost Peyton Manning in the AFC. You're going to have those 3 guys get out, and it's going to be a wide open conference all over again. So we'll see who takes over from there.
So a couple other stories for the NFL, kind of a lightning round, if you will. What do you think is the biggest injury impact so far in the NFL? Not so much the biggest injury, because obviously that would be Aaron Rodgers. I'm pretty sure we can all agree on that one. But what do you think has been the biggest injury in the NFL so far, outside of Aaron Rodgers?
I don't necessarily believe it's the most impactful injury in the world, but I do think it's the most unfortunate injury in the world, and that's Dalvin Cook. This guy was having such a great year, putting up extremely high numbers for a rookie halfback. He was slowly becoming the life force of this team, and then suddenly he's just gone for an extended period of time. Jerick McKinnon has done an excellent job filling in for him. He's just so speedy. If he gets a hole, or makes one move and gets to the outside. And you haven't seen much of Latavius Murray, but you don't have to, because Jerick McKinnon is doing a great job filling in. But yeah, the most unfortunate injury this year, and one I wanted to highlight and mention, is definitely Dalvin Cook. I like this kid a lot. I think he's going to go far in the NFL, and this injury is probably going to be it's a minor setback. He's still young. Obviously, he can recover from it. I just hope he comes back the same as he was, picks up right where he left off.
The most impactful injury, I wouldn't even say is Aaron Rodgers, because that system lends itself to the QB. It makes the most of the QB, no matter what their intelligence level is or physicality, any kind of attributes they bring to the table, because you have a situation when you have Matt Flynn 4 or 5 years ago who stepped into that offense, threw for almost 500 yards in the final game of the season, and got a fat contract with the Seahawks before they drafted Russell Wilson because of it. That dude made millions of dollars because of one game in that offense. That offense will help Brett Hundley succeed. I think the most impactful injury is going to be Andrew Luck. If Andrew Luck is healthy, he is a guy that takes your team to the playoffs, has runs like he had a few years ago when he led a talentless Colts team to a comeback victory over the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs. I believe it was in Kansas City as well. That is what Andrew Luck brings to the table. You surround him with a decent line and a competent defense, and he will take you very, very far. And Andrew Luck not playing in the NFL makes the NFL a worse off place.
The injury I hate the most definitely has to be J.J. Watt. He is a Hall of Famer when he's on the field. A Hall of Famer. First ballot, no question. He is so impactful. And not to mention the stuff he did off the field. I hate to see his season end twice in 2 years from an injury. I just want to see him play all 16 games. I want to see him to playoffs. He is a game changer. I've never seen anybody on the defensive line like that.
You know, one injury that I thought was a big impact, then has now become almost a totally impact in a totally different way, was David Johnson. When David Johnson went down, I thought the Cardinals were done. Stick a fork in them, they're out. Then all of a sudden they make a trade for Adrian Peterson, and now all of a sudden that team looks better than it did before David Johnson got hurt. It's like he breathed life into the Cardinals. They've completely embraced this. We're a veteran team. We're all these players, Larry Fitzgerald, Adrian Peterson, Carson Palmer, they're all in their last run. Let's go give it to them. And I think him going down completely changed the mindset of that team and given Adrian Peterson another chance, a third chance, if you will. He wasn't going to make it on the Saints. He's now the team that's going to utilize him. And I think now the Cardinals went from heroes to zeros to heroes again. And I think it's going to be a really big impact on that team and the NFL and the NFC. Kind of leapfrogging off of that point, what do you think has been the most surprising team this far? My pick actually is the Saints. I did not think the Saints were going to be decent. Through the first 2 weeks, I thought I was, they were kind of playing as well as I expected them to. Their defense was garbage. Then the last 2 weeks, they pitch a shutout. Well, not pitch a shutout, but they play a shutout. And then they go off and knock off a better team last week. So the defense is playing surprisingly unsaint-like, and the offense is playing very saint-like behind Drew Brees. I've been completely surprised by the Saints, and I think they can make a push to win that division.
I think it's pretty obvious what the most surprising team is so far in the NFL. It's got to be the New York Jets. No one had any confidence in this team. Even if you're a Jets fan, you can't look me in the eye and keep a straight face and say that I thought we were going to be 3-3 6 games into this season. I will call you out on that. There's no one thought with Josh McCown at the helm, no name receivers, a decent halfback game, one old guy and a couple of decent backups, and somehow they're doing it. They almost beat the Patriots. If it wasn't for a questionable call, Safarian Jenkins' touchdown got called a touchback, and that was very unfortunate for the Jets. But they're still 3-3, and they're very competitive with the Patriots, which is amazing for if you're a Jets fan. The fact that they are upset that they lost that game and blaming that call shows that they were in that game. So yeah, the Jets are definitely most surprising. This team, I'm curious to see where this team can go the rest of the season.
I have two surprising teams for this year. in two completely different situations. First is the other team that plays at New Meadowlands Stadium is the Giants. Just sheer super star caliber players that they had going down, and just inadequacy, inefficiencies, incompetence by their entire team to win football games. I think they had some insane stat that I'm sure ESPN shared last year about how many close games they won, or the year before that. And when you live your life like that, coming so close to winning and losing, eventually you're going to have years like this year where you just can't get it. You can't close the game out. And that's what happens. And then my other team is the Detroit Lions. They are on fire right now. Their defense is playing lights out. Their linebacking core is one of the best in the NFL. Their safeties are playing well as well. And Matthew Stafford he's not playing excellent, but he's playing good enough, keeping his team in the football game, doing the comebacks like he loves doing. And they can run away with that division now that Aaron Rodgers down, because I don't see Minnesota being cohesive enough for 16 complete games to give Stafford and the Lions a run for their money.
My shock for this year so far has to be the Texans. I'm surprised they put Watson in so early, but I'm happy that they did. Watson is the next generation of quarterbacks. He could do it all, and it's beautiful to watch. He leads the league in touchdowns, and he's played one less game. He has 15 touchdowns already. That is amazing. He knows what he has to do, and he does it. If he needs a first down and he has like 15 yards to go, he's going to look at all his reads. If he doesn't have it, he's going to try to run for it. If he doesn't have it, he's going to try to make that throw at the last second. He is a game changer, and I love that the Texans have him. And they're going to make the playoffs and going to upset some teams, even maybe the Patriots. I won't be mad because I love Watson. He is a great talent.
Alrighty, and the final NFL story before we leave. Quarterway through the division, we kind of mentioned this before through 2 weeks, but now we're through 5 through 6. What division is shaping up to be the best division? Not necessarily our favorite, but looking at the divisions, which division do you think is the best division? We can kind of all agree here if we need to, but what division, in your opinion, is the best division?
I know that the best, as far as having the best teams in it, but the AFC South is probably going to be the most competitive division down the stretch. You got 3 teams that are 3-3, and the last place team, quote unquote, is 2-4, 1 game back. That's just because they lost to the Titans on Monday Night Football. So yeah, as far as competitiveness, I think the AFC South is going to be the most competitive. It's going to be a fun division to watch down the stretch. I want to see, Titans, Jaguars, Texans. Which team wins the division? Will the second team even have a chance at a wild card if they lose the first place? And will the Colts bounce back and stay competitive in the division? Maybe come back and beat the Jaguars or the Texans or something like that. So I don't know. It's a wide open division. It's going to be really exciting to watch, and I like a lot of the teams in that division. The Titans, Jaguars, and Texans are all very fun teams to watch this season.
I think the best division in football is the same division it was last year, and that's the AFC West. You have, as Eric said, the best team in football in Kansas City. You have the best defense in football in Denver Broncos. You have probably the best up-and-coming young quarterback in Derek Carr. And then you have the San Diego Chargers, who kind of hanging out on Phillip Rivers' twilight years. But they probably have the best pass-rushing tandem in the league, and Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram. That defense there is scary. That entire division, I cannot imagine being a quarterback in 2017 in the AFC West. I can tell you that. If I'm a quarterback in 2017 in the AFC West, I tell my front office I want 2 solid tackles to protect me and pray every single night before the game.
Okay, the division I think is the most interesting has to be the NFC South. You have Carolina at 4-2, New Orleans and Atlanta both at 3-2, and Tampa at 2-3. They're all playoff caliber teams. They all have great quarterbacks. They have game changers on both sides of the field. I think Carolina is going to have a run with New Orleans and Atlanta. Tampa might fade out towards the end of the season, but those three teams are going to be super competitive throughout it. And I love to see that in division. I want to see, and that division is not known for defense. They're known for high-scoring offenses. So those are going to make great games. It's going to be like 50-40 half the time. They don't know how to play defense. They know how to score. And I love to see that.
I'm actually agreeing with James here. I was going to pick the NFC South. I was trying to find a backup, but I can't really find one. NFC South is clearly the best division in my opinion, simply because, like James mentioned, all four of those teams can make a run for the playoffs. And while yes, what you say is true, Tom, anyone in that division can also make a run for the playoffs. But that division just has a big race for first place in that division. Anyone in the NFC South, I can see making a run towards the number 1 seed. Even New Orleans, because I did not expect them to be sitting at 3-2 right now, and they could easily be sitting at 4-1, if not 5-0, if their defense plays a little bit better in those first 2 weeks, because Drew Brees had them in each game. With Drew Brees at the helm, the offense clicking, the defense all of a sudden being competent, like I said, they're my surprise team. Atlanta is still Atlanta. They're going to bounce back. They had a couple rough outings, but they're going to bounce back. Carolina, who had Carolina at 4-2 to start the season? Tampa Bay, I thought, was probably going to have the best chance to give Atlanta a run for their money in that division to begin with season. Injuries have kind of derailed Tampa Bay on defense. If they can get some of those players back, they'll be competent on defense again. That division is, in my opinion, the best top to bottom, and I'm excited for that race going forward. So, moving on to the NBA. The NBA season officially started yesterday. We kicked it off with what I was hoping would be the best game of the week in terms of Cleveland against the Celtics, and it started off in the most stomach-churning way. My thoughts go out to Gordon Hayward, and I watched that live. I watched the video of it 3 times. I get sick just looking at it. So if you haven't seen it, I don't recommend seeing it, but with Gordon Hayward going down, did Boston's finals hopes, because I'm going off the basis that Golden State's winning the finals again this year. We'll come back to that in a second. But Boston had, in my opinion, maybe the second best chance in the East to make the finals behind, obviously, Cleveland. With him going down, do they still have that chance, or are they going to get lucky just to make the conference finals?
I like the opinion of I forget his name. There's a guy who was talking in the pregame of tonight's games on ESPN, and I agree with what he said. I think the Celtics were pretty much locked into the 3rd seed. Everyone said they're going to be the second best team in the East. I think the Washington Wizards are going to get the 2nd seed this year. The Cavaliers are clearly the best team in the East. No doubt about that. They're locked into 1st. Nothing either of any of the East teams can do about that. But I think Hayward, no Hayward. I think the Celtics were going to get 3rd seed. So I don't think this changes much. They still have a very talented roster. Kyrie might have to carry a little bit harder than he did before, but I think the Celtics are going to be just fine, if you ask me. I can see them getting 3rd seed or 4th. Yeah, it really depends if Hayward can come back late in the season or for a playoff run. But I wouldn't throw their entire season out the window into the trash can yet. Let's just see how the rest of the season goes. See if Kyrie can put on his dancing shoes.
I think their hopes are pretty much squandered. I think even with Gordon Hayward, LeBron and the Cavs is an insurmountable obstacle for the East, shown that for the past 7 years, and it will unless LeBron switches conferences. The main thing is what this Celtics team looks like to me is like the Hawks team for the past 3-4 years. Has by far and away the most complete and cohesive talent in probably the conference, honestly, because the Cavs are predicated on LeBron doing what LeBron does and willing his team to victories and making them play as a team just because of his sheer willpower. But the Hawks were always a cohesive team, and the Celtics last night looked like a very cohesive team. They're really starting to put things together with their young guys and Kyrie and Al Horford, but I just don't see them getting past the Wizards, the Cavs, teams of that caliber. They just seem to be a tier below.
I don't think the injury will change much in the East. Yeah, it was a big injury. He's a well-known player, but it was his first game with the team. Who knows what he could have done? We know what he can't do right now, and Celtics are definitely going to miss that spot they paid for. But they actually looked pretty well last night and almost pulled off the win on the road in Cleveland. So I like it. I love Kyrie just being Kyrie. He doesn't have to be under LeBron's shadow. He could do what he wants, not have to worry about passing the ball at the last second. So it doesn't change much, but Celtics are going to be 4 for 5 in the East.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much does them in as far as reaching the finals. I mean, a little update. We're recording this on Wednesday night, and the Milwaukee Bucks beat the Celtics tonight, 108-100 behind Giannis Antetokounmpo's. Hope I pronounced that right. The Greek Freaks put up 37 points, dropped it on Boston. They're now 0-2. And we'll get to the Greek Freak there in a second. I think this hurts them. I think the Wizards showed something tonight in their game about their bench. They're proved they're better. Cleveland has LeBron. As long as they have LeBron, they're the number one team. This does, I believe, like you said, James, yes, we don't know what he could have done, but we do know what his potential was. He carried Utah, a team that I thought didn't have a lot of star power outside of him. And he carried them to the number 4 seed, almost beating the Clippers. So, or they did beat the Clippers, and then they ran up against Golden State. So, I feel like, this is going to really hurt Boston in the long run. This does open up a lot of things in the East. I think the team they lost to tonight, Milwaukee, could take advantage of this and maybe make a push for that 3rd seed. But moving on from Boston to moving on from the East to the West, Golden State lost last night, and while championship teams don't have the best records on opening night the following year, it was pretty surprising, and I think it was a really good sign for Houston. Really big confidence booster for Houston's new duo of Harden and CP3 to knock off the defending champs. But are you worried about Golden State? And who do you think in that conference has the best chance to knock off Golden State at the end? I still think Golden State wins the entire thing, but who do you think has the best chance of doing it?
I'm actually going to go with the Thunder. A lot of people are saying there's a lot of question marks around that team. They have way too much talent, way too much ego on that team. I'm actually confident that it'll come together for them. And the Thunder are going to be a team to watch this season for sure. I think they might steal away the 2nd seed in the West from the Spurs, and they might actually be ultra competitive with the Warriors. A lot depends if those 3 egos can come together and play as a cohesive unit. If they can do that, I think Thunder Warriors is going to be a series that is definitely worth your time if it comes up in the postseason.
I think it's about a 60-40 split for 2nd and 3rd. 60 being Houston, 40 being Thunder. Thunder, for all reasons that Tom mentioned, they have to get their egos in check, make sure they play as a team, they buy into the team. And Carmelo, that means you have to play defense. I know you forgot about how to do that since college, but you got to do that. What the Rockets can bring is they do exactly what the Warriors do. They play defense and they shoot the 3 and D. That is a 3 and D team. That is all Mike D'Antoni preaches to them. He tells them that they only go for the layups first and shoot 3-pointer second. So I think that's a great attitude to have in today's NBA, because there's a lot of guys out there that can shoot it, and they only practice 3-pointers because they're glamorous, and they practice layups because they're easy. So the Rockets can just match fire with the Warriors, and that's pretty much all you can ask for at this point, because the only thing that's going to stop the Warriors is health. And speaking of that, Draymond Green had a weird-looking knee injury last night, so we'll see what comes of that. He's supposed to get an MRI today.
who basically beat Golden State last year? The Spurs. Before Zaza, pussy bitch, excuse my language, injured Leonard. They had them beat. They're going to have a beat again if he doesn't get hurt. The Spurs are well coached. They know what they're doing. They know how to stop Golden State. It's over if he stays healthy. Leonard, it's going to be the Spurs, Rockets in the Western Conference Final. You could calculate the Warriors out. You heard it here first.
I actually think right now it's actually probably Houston. I'll be honest. I think the problem with the Spurs, and this is actually the point where I kind of wished my boss Greg, who was supposed to be a guest tonight, this is actually where I wanted him to be at, because he lives and breathes basketball like you do, Zach, and he actually thinks the Spurs are in trouble. He doesn't think the Spurs are going to make the number 2 seed. He thinks the West got really good and the Spurs didn't do enough. The Spurs are all getting older, and while the rest of these teams, yes, they're picking up veterans, but they are adding quality depth in the draft, where he thinks the Spurs are missing out on. Houston, obviously, I feel like Houston was just one piece away. You have the arguable MVP in James Harden. He just needed an extra help, an extra top-tier veteran, and he got that in CP3. I feel like as far as Oklahoma City goes, I think Westbrook is a cancer to that team, and I've always felt that way. I feel like Westbrook, kind of stole stole that whole thing that he had last year. I feel like you basically put 3 ball hogs, three players that all do the exact same thing, minus Paul George. I don't know how Westbrook and Carmelo Anthony are going to react together, and I don't think that team is going to have enough to beat Golden State. I think they're going to beat each other. I think they're going to beat themselves. Outside of that, like I said, Golden State's still the best team, but I think Houston has the best chance of knocking them off. Speaking of best chance to knock off the Golden State Warriors, so the last thing I want to talk about in the NBA, top 4 in the East, top 4 in the West, and the team outside of the top 4 that you think has the best chance of knocking off someone in the top 4.
Top 4 teams, like I said before, I think it's pretty obvious who the number 1 is. It's going to be the Cleveland Cavaliers. I don't think there's any question in anyone's mind that the Cavaliers are going to be number 1. Give me the Washington Wizards at number 2. This is where it kind of gets tough. I think the Cavaliers and the Wizards are locked to get number 1 and number 2. After that, I'm going to go out on some limbs, and I'm going to say Bucks 3. And give me the Boston Celtics, even without Gordon Hayward. Give me them at 4. Top 4 in the West. This gets a little harder because the West, I think, is the more competitive division. Number 1 is going to be Golden State. Once again, the number 1s are really clear cut in both the conferences. After that, it's going to get a little fuzzy, though. So Golden State, number 1. I'm going to go with Oklahoma City Thunder 2, San Antonio Spurs 3rd, and give me the Rockets in 4th still. Because I want to say that the my Minnesota Timberwolves are going to usurp the 4th position, but I think they'll make the playoffs. But I think the Rockets showed last night that they are a very good team. James Harden is still one of the best players in the NBA, and now he just got one of the best court generals in the game by his side. So the Rockets are going to be number 4, I think. But I have a lot of faith in the Thunder. I think the Thunder will play well this year. And the biggest challenge outside those top 4, I just said the West one is going to be the Timberwolves. There's a lot of talent on this roster, and if they all come together, I think they could challenge for a top 4 spot. I don't think they will get it, but I think they will definitely challenge for one. And in the East, to challenge for the top 4 spot, I'm going to say the Detroit Pistons. That may come as a shock to some people, but the Detroit Pistons are a very good team. They kind of they won by double digits against Charlotte tonight. So a great home opener for them. I think the Pistons are just a surprise team that's going to come out of nowhere and make the playoffs and maybe even be competitive in the playoffs. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
The top 4 for the East I have Cleveland LeBrons, Washington Wizards, and then I have the Celtics and the Bucks because I think Kyrie, Al Horford, Tatum, and Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, and all those guys, they can, as long as they have Brad Stevens, probably by trajectory, the best coach in the NBA as far as where he's going to go in his career. He is just lights out. He was lights out in Butler. He's been lights out in the NBA. He'll keep that team easily in a top 3 spot. Those are the top 4 teams that I have. I said the Bucks, and then the top 4 teams for the West. It's going to obviously be the Warriors, Rockets, Thunder 3, and then the Spurs 4. I kind of agree with what he said your boss would say about these Spurs, Eric. They've kind of plateaued ever since they won the championship and Tim Duncan retired. They've kind of just plateaued. They haven't really done anything to advance themselves. They're relying on an all-world player in Kawhi Leonard, probably the heir to LeBron's throne, but you can't depend on one guy anymore in this league. This league is predicated on teams, great teams that have multiple superstars in their own right, and they just don't have it. And as far as, I guess you would call it a dark horse candidate outside the top 4 for each. For the East, I'd have to say the Heat. Eric Spoelstra keeps those guys locked in. They played pretty well in the second half last year. Hopefully, Dragic, Whiteside, Winslow, those guys down there, James Johnson, they can keep it rolling. I think the Heat can have a good shot at making a deep run in the East, maybe even getting the championship, conference championship. Then the West, I'm split between the Wolves and the Pelicans, man. I think the Pelicans, with the Twin Towers and Davis and Cousins, they can destroy any team in the paint, and then they're today's modern big men where they can step outside if they have to. And then the Wolves, man, they're just a young, fast, defensive-minded team with Tim Thibodeau at the reins for them. So that's what I got.
So the East, I have the Cavs. Then you got second with the Greek Freak and the Bucks. Third, I have the Wizards. Fourth, I have Detroit. And that dark horse is going to be Celtics. Because, yes, they can still challenge the throne to any of those 4. No problem. And if you look at Western Conference, I got the Golden State first, the Spurs second, Houston third, and the Thunder fourth. Who's going to challenge that throne? Maybe a dark horse, but I'm maybe playing favorites at the same time. The Los Angeles Lakers. Let's see what they could do. Can he carry that team? Can the rookie do it? Let's go. I want to see it.
Alrighty, so for me, oh boy, y'all gonna hate me when I get to the East. Alright, so I'm gonna start off on the West because I'm gonna go ahead and take the fire here in a second. In the West, obviously Golden State's number 1. That's an easy one. I think Houston's number 2. Like I said, I think they have the best chance to take out Golden State. Number 3 is where it gets a little tricky for me. I believe Oklahoma City is going to have enough firepower to get the number 3 seed. And here's the number 4 seed. I'll be honest. I think it's the Timberwolves. I think the Timberwolves can manage to get to the 4th seed. Just because I think they're playing the Spurs really well. Right now, it's halftime. They're down by 4, but I think they're playing them really well. I think the Spurs are probably the dark horse candidate outside the top 4 that can do something. But I'm really excited for the Timberwolves. I'm really excited to see what Jimmy Butler does. How Cat and Wiggins respond to having a veteran leader to where they're not required to be the leaders on that team. That team has a lot of firepower in the starting lineup. Bench is still a question mark. I think they traded some of their better bench players in order to get that top-tier starting lineup. I think they might have the issue the Wizards had last year, where the starting lineup blows people out, but then the bench steps in and can't do anything. And I think that's where their hindrance is, and that's why they're at a 4 and not even higher. But that starting lineup is one of the best in the entire NBA. So I think that alone could carry them to the 4th seed. In the East, I have number 4. I have the Celtics at number 4. At number 3, I think it's going to be the Bucks. I don't think that's too much of a stretch there. I think the Greek Freak is actually the heir to LeBron's throne. I don't think Kawhi Leonard is that. Giannis is absolutely fantastic, and I know y'all are going to hate me here, and I have a really good reason, but I think the Wizards take the number 1 seed, and this is why. The number 1 seed in the East does not mean the best team. Cleveland's the best team. The Celtics took the number 1 seed last year. Did you think they were the best team? No, you knew it was Cleveland. The Celtics took it because LeBron always takes it easy in the regular season, then turns it on in the postseason. LeBron does not need the number 1 seed to make it back to the finals, and I don't think he needs it this year. The reason I think the Wizards take the number 1 seed is because starting lineup-wise, I think we have John Wall, who I think can be the MVP, and that's not me homering. ESPN has been jinxing him all freaking offseason, saying he has the best chance to take the MVP away from his Western Conference foes. I hate that they've been doing it, but they make a convincing case for him. He is the lifeblood of the team. Bradley Beal is playing exceptionally well. Otto Porter is taking exceptional steps. But the biggest issue the Wizards had last year, and why we only got the seed we got, was because of our bench, that we have completely flipped. And our bench is what won us the game tonight. The biggest problem is John Wall and Bradley Beal alone have to play almost 40 minutes a game. The bench this year is going to make it so they don't have to. They can actually take it a little bit easy during the regular season and coast their way through. The other big thing that's going to determine if I'm correctly picking this now or if I'm going to look like a fool at the end of the season, and that's the development of Kelly Oubre. If he can develop into the 6th man that I think he can, the Wizards can take that number 1 seed and can actually compete with the Cavaliers for a finals appearance. I thought the Celtics were going to be in our way until Gordon Hayward went down. With him going down, I think this opens the door for the Wizards. As a fan, I hope I'm right. And I hope I'm not just letting my heart speak for me, but I really do think they make a convincing case on paper.
So just for clarification, you think the Wizards are going to be the number 1 seed, but you think the Cavs are going to go to the finals?
I think the Cavs are the best team, but I think the Wizards have a chance to take the number 1 seed with the same mindset that the Celtics had last year. Using the same method the Celtics did last year. I apologize.
So is the question the top 4 seeds or the top 4 teams?
The top 4 seeds. That's kind of what I was going for. Who's going to be in the top 4 in the playoffs?
Okay.
That was my mentality. I guess I probably should have specified that. But that was my mentality. Is who takes the top 4 seeds going into the playoffs?
I mean, that's what I got from it.
So you think Batman's going to put it in cruise control during the regular season and let Robin think he's going to be Batman? Is that what you're saying?
That's what they did last year.
Sounds good to me.
Eric, I love you, buddy, but you are delusional. Like, the Cavaliers are the best team in the East by a lot. I don't think it's close. But, I mean, it's a crazy league. Anything could happen. But I think you are letting your heart speak a little bit too much here.
I think John Wall is definitely an MVP candidate, though. I think he has a good chance to win it.
For sure. He's a fantastic player. He carries that team.
And Kelly Oubre can definitely get 6th player, but I don't know, man. Celtics last year got the number 1 seed because LeBron kind of let off towards the end, and he's in the mode now where, like you said, he has his sights set on the postseason. He doesn't compete with the regular season anymore. If he wanted to, he would win every MVP every single year, but he's not in that anymore. He's in his conditioning, keeping his body and his mind right for the postseason. So I can agree with you that the Wizards get the number 1 seed, but they are not, like you said, the best team. That is the Cavs.
There's 2 other reasons why I have hope for this season. One, it is, like I said, last year we played Cleveland extremely competitively. We lost when the bench had to step in. I'm not saying our starting lineup's better than them. But, and this is another reason why I wish Greg was here, because me and Greg had a long conversation a few months ago revolving this. when the playoffs were going on last year. And that's that he's a LeBron fan like you, so he wants LeBron to win every finals he ever plays in. But he was actually scared of playing the Wizards last year because the Wizards did the one thing that last year's Cleveland Cavaliers could not stop, and that's rushing point guards. Point guards that use their speed to take advantage of the bigger players that Cleveland has. He actually thought that last year's team could have beaten Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Finals just off of John Wall and Bradley Beal. He was extremely confident facing Boston, and they steamrolled right through Boston like he was expecting them to do. But he was actually scared of the Wizards. So that's why I think the Wizards could really do something this year if the bench plays all year like they play tonight.
I think this Cavs team, I think Kyrie was just, I don't know, man. He's probably the best overall offensive genius in the NBA in terms of his playmaking ability, but this Cavs team, man, with Derrick Rose, Dwayne Wade, and Jay Crowder, they're going to play a lot better defense this year. I can promise you that. And I don't know. If you have Kevin Love as your big man this year, you're not going to have guards running by your big man. Kevin Love can keep up with guards. He showed that against Steph Curry 2 years ago. I think both teams are a lot different this year. We'll see. I'll just leave it at that.
Anyone else want to roast me here real quick before we move on to the final topic of the night?
Nobody's roasting you. I agree. I agree they'll be number one seed. I'm just saying, last year's Cavs team, they wanted to be big men oriented. They wanted that because LeBron wanted his man Tristan Thompson to get paid and to play the big man role, but Tristan Thompson can't succeed in a world where the Warriors are successful. That's just not how it works.
Wait, are those roasts hot? Because Eric's pretty crazy. Why? Why would you make that pick? Why?
I mean, it's a bold pick, but it actually could happen.
I thought we were done doing overreactions.
It's just a very bold pick, but I mean, it could happen, like Zach said. I mean, we'll have to see. Both teams are very different this year.
Y'all are going to see me lose my mind if the Wizards happen to make an NBA Finals. I just hope y'all understand. If we make the Eastern Conference Finals, it'll be the first time. I mean, as a Washington fan, we need something, man. I
just can't wait for you to be disappointed again.
You should get your owner to bargain with Dan Gilbert to try to get LeBron to waive his no-trade clause to the West. That's your best chance in the finals. I promise you.
Or for us to go out and snag Boogie Cousins, because that was actually a rumor they were talking about when he becomes a free agent next year, because he wants to play with John Wall, and John Wall wants to finish his career with Washington. That's our best chance, in my opinion, is to snag him next season.
Yeah, you had a chance until you signed Otto Porter. Porter to a max contract.
The cap is supposed to expand next year. Again, the cap is supposed to continue to go up. If it goes up by a lot, we'll see.
It goes up by a lot? Okay, man.
We'll see. All right. So, moving on to the last topic, and this is going to be a real quick one. Like I said, I was hoping to have a much bigger spot for the NHL, but due to time constraints, I wasn't able to get with the other guys I was going to do that with. So, I'm going to work with Tom and James here really, really quickly. In the NHL season started. There's been some big surprises. Some things that I was actually glad for. What do you think is the top team to watch this season? Not necessarily who you think is going to be the best, but what is one team you're really paying attention to this NHL season? And also, the second, we'll start there, and I'll tell the second question in a second. What's the one team you're watching?
The one team I'm watching, and the one team that I'm really actually cheering for, besides my own team, which is the Minnesota Wild, are the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Man, where did these guys come from? They're currently first place in the Western Conference as an expansion team with a ragtag bunch of players. It's really fun to watch. They're playing super competitive right now. So if this keeps up, I don't know how long they can sustain it, but right now I think they're definitely the team to watch. So if you're not already, start following the Las Vegas Knights, because this could be the start of a very beautiful sports town in the very near future.
My team to watch has to be the Tampa Bay Lightning. They fell off last season, didn't make the playoffs, but they just got in the Stanley Cup Finals the year before, and they're still young, they're still fast, they play great defense, have good goalie. I love watching them play.
my team to watch. I am actually gonna. I want to say the Capitals. Because they are playing exactly how I wanted them to. Struggle early and come on late. Don't dominate all season like we've done the last 2 seasons. The President's Cup has not done them any wonders. But I think the team to watch, in my opinion, actually, is also the second question I was going to ask, which is what non-playoff team last season do you think has the best chance to make the playoffs this year? And my pick for both of these questions is actually the New Jersey Devils. Buddy of mine, John, posted saying that the Devils have scored 26 goals in 6 games. They didn't score 26 goals in a month last season. In any month, they never scored 26 goals. They've already scored that many this season already. Their offense is hot. Their goalie has always played well, but usually the defense sucks in front of him and the offense can't get him over the hump. Offense is killing it. Defense is doing good enough to give their goalie a little bit of breathing room. I think the Jersey Devils could actually make a run for the postseason.
All right, my team to watch the team that didn't make the playoffs last year that I think will make the playoffs this year, and maybe you can make a run at this thing, is the Winnipeg Jets. They were so close to making it last year. I believe they were like a couple games back from I think it was a couple games back from Nashville, and you saw what Nashville did in the playoffs. So the Winnipeg Jets were kind of like caught on the outside looking in. I think it won't be that this year. I think this team is definitely competitive enough to make the lower seed in the West, and maybe even make some noise in the playoffs. So I can really see the Winnipeg making the playoffs this year, even though they barely missed last year. But also, I want to just tack on the Vegas Knights. I think will make the playoffs as well. So it'll be a very different and interesting Western Conference playoff this year. Should be a lot of fun to watch.
My team to watch didn't make the playoffs last year, has to be my team, the Los Angeles Kings. They have Quickback healthy as ever. They have a new coach. They have not the same lineup, but they're scoring goals. That's what they didn't do last year. They're defense focused first. They're in transition, scoring goals. They're on the power play, scoring goals. I love seeing them score goals, obviously, because they didn't do that at all last year. They couldn't score a goal if you paid them to score on open net. They missed everything. I am so excited to see them back.
Well, that pretty much does it for everything that I had here. Really great podcast, guys. We hope everyone enjoyed it. Does anyone have any closing remarks before we sign off?
This Wolves game is in the second half, and it's actually good, so let's sign off quickly.
Countdown to craziness starts tomorrow night. I am most excited when Duke basketball is playing.
I feel like all of America is weeping. I'm surprised neither one of you guys mentioned this, but U.S. Soccer missed the World Cup for the first time since, '89? Absolutely embarrassing. America is weeping right now.
Hey, man, you know who did make the World Cup?
Mexico?
Mexico, exactly.
We have to have the worst investment to results ratio in the world when it comes to the United States men's soccer team. Like I said before in some private chats we've had, it is sad that the United States men's soccer team is the third best soccer team on the continent behind the U.S. women's team and Mexico's men's national team. That is pathetic.
Hey, Team Mexico's good, man. Don't do that.
What's more, that they're behind women. I'm not trying to be sexist to women, but I don't think our men's team can beat our women's team.
I actually doubt that as well.
Another thing I think that is a little bit of hope for the men's team is the under-17 team, I think, won their big tournament or something like that, or they finished really high up in there.
No, they're still in it.
They're still in it? Well, they're winning, and that's a big
8.
thing. Yeah, and that's a really good sign that they're still in it.
That's always been the issue for U.S. is the issue that the U.S. has is that U17 group of guys going from there to the Olympics to the world stage for the World Cup is that our development from the time they are 17 to about 23 is horrendous. Horrendous. You have guys like Julian Green from the last World Cup. Where's he at? Like, there's people that just disappear because our development is just pathetic. We have no competence up top, and it just trickles down.
Sad sight. Well, that about does it. We're going to go ahead and sign off here so that Tom can go watch his Timberwolves continue to play and hopefully start off 1-0 like my boys have done. This was a great podcast, guys. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will hopefully make the next one on time.
I wouldn't bet on it.
Right. All right, guys. Y'all have a great night. Peace.